Welcome back to the program. After a little bit of a sabbatical, after a little bit of downtime, and a lot of work on a holiday COVID-friendly drive-through event, I'm finally back in the game. So this video, I'm going to introduce to you a new introduction. Cue introduction. Very nice. And so what we're going to talk about today is what transpired with American Tire Distributors, how it came to fruition, how we wrote a proposal, how we worked everything out, and just sort of share with you this event planning dynamic that we put together really for the first time. And so without any further ado, welcome back to the program. Check it out. Okay, so what I'm going to show you guys right now is the first image that was sent to me by ATD, and it was a satellite image of their parking lot. And initially, they thought that they were going to have 8 stations, like 2 entry stations and 6 other entry stations. And so we put a proposal together for 8 stations, all right? And I'll put a link to the presentation that you can see. But I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with regards to this. I'll probably end up doing a live stream on this. But what ended up happening is we went back and forth, and the final walkthrough looks like this. And so what we learned is of the 8 stations that we proposed, they wanted the 8 stations to be dispersed all over the entire parking lot and in the back of the parking lot. So when you see the stations all have numbers to them, and each number has a desired theme or action or purpose. So the goal is that when you drive in, you'll be able to see all of the different items that we will be providing throughout the entire drive-through event. And then okay, now that I've shared a little bit with you about how everything was laid out, now I want to spend some time talking to you about the inventory. So there was 2 reasons why we did this. 1, we needed the money, and 2, the inventory that we were going to have to get would be bought with the money that we earned from ATD. So the inventory that we created is absolutely baffling. And so I'm going to overlay an image on the top of this video right now so that you can see everything that we have. And what I can tell you is our biggest mistake that we made was that we didn't charge for our time. And my total invoice for all of this inventory was, let's just call it with taxes all in, about $4,200. So in hindsight, I think we could have doubled it. The good news is that while we were doing this, we realized that we thought that ATD had asked us to add more signs. So we did, and we implemented a change order on the fly, and we charged them an extra, call it $1,050 to do that. And so now that you have a better understanding of how much we charged, I want to talk a little bit more about the profit and loss. So again, everybody should remember that we have lost leaders. And when you get into a new business and you don't know what you're doing, usually your first opportunity is probably going to be a lost leader. So what you would have made if you were experienced in the business would have been a sizable profit. In this case, we learned, Jennifer and I, everything that you don't want to do. So the profit on this was not good, but the experiences was priceless. And so here's the P&L overview. And in the process of showing you this image, what I also want to talk with you about are a couple of dynamics that transpired. Two in particular that I think are First start of this project, we had said to ATD that we needed a 50% deposit down before we even started. And they agreed to that. And in the process of that, they sent me emails to get into their supplier system. Now, it was my fault that I had an email address on the invoice. I think what they do is they scan my invoice, they upload all the content into their fields. So from a data entry standpoint, it's super seamless. And they took an email address off my invoice that was no longer active. So when they sent me the introductory email to join their supplier system, I never got it. And because we were super busy and collaborating back and forth with ATD, Jennifer and I just kind of forgot about it. And so the first week, we didn't really worry about it because we were so excited and so super busy to move forward. Mind you, we had a verbal agreement. So we never had a written agreement. We had a verbal agreement, which is incredibly bad. You don't ever want that for liability reasons and all kinds of reasons. So come the second week, the week before we start, I finally realized that we've spent a lot of money out of pocket and we need to figure out this payment process because it's a challenge. So by no fault of its own, we finally fixed the mistake and they sent me an email to the right email address on Wednesday of a week before the event, and we were installing on Friday, so 2 days. So we got the paperwork, or we got the notification, we logged into their system, and we set up a supplier profile. And in the process of doing that, there were errors. Not on ATD's fault, but with their new supplier. It just so happens that they have a new supplier system called Coupa. So I filled out this profile and they never received confirmation that I had this profile. So Thursday, when I reach out to them and say, we got to pay this invoice, they say, we'd love to pay it, but we don't see you in the system. There's something wrong. And it turned into a complete and total nightmare. It still is right now. But what ended up happening is I spoke to, by the way, everyone at ATD that I've worked with has been kind and been professional and been exactly what you wanted. Yes, there were some creative differences and we did get into some debates, but in the end, I think it all worked out. And why it hasn't worked out, because at this moment, I still haven't been paid. But I do believe that I will, and I'm not worried about it. So what ended up happening is they had thought that if the supplier portal wouldn't work and they couldn't directly deposit my funds, they were going to pay my invoice with American Express. So I use Square on this. And so because I use Square and their payment processing system allows people to pay via American Express, that was perfect for me. So Friday came and, we're installing all day. And the woman in accounts payable, Tiffany, who, by the way, here's a picture of her. She is an absolute angel. I love her. I absolutely love her. She's a bright star of all of this. And I will tell you the other people that I worked with and share with you how much I enjoyed working with them. But Friday at 5 o'clock came, I hadn't been paid. So now we haven't been paid. Now I'm nervous, okay? Because now we have to set up all this stuff. And this is when some creative differences happen. Meaning what ATD described as scattered, right? Which meant on their definition across the entire corporate office, we identified with in the yard card world, sort of in stations. So we spent the first 3 hours on Friday setting up stations that were sprinkled throughout the entire office location, but we had 15 presents at the welcome sign when they only wanted 2. So they realized that our inventory was huge. They came back to us. They were rather nervous. Look, this got a lot of exposure. The senior leadership team wanted this. The CEO wanted this. I believe the people that we worked with in communications and HR, they were young, and I don't think that they had a lot of experience with event planning. No fault of their own. But Friday at 6:30, 7 o'clock, 70% of our signs aren't set up. And they know on Saturday that the senior leadership team is coming at 8 o'clock to look at everything. And they're saying, this isn't done. This isn't good. Rightfully so, right? So, and I hadn't been paid. So we went home like around 10 o'clock. I took all the kids home. Jennifer had stayed. And this is important. So if you can hang around for this is worth watching the entire video. So 10 o'clock came. I had to go back and install more signs. And in the process, I get more signs that I can install for that evening. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I didn't do that then. So I hop back in my truck. I go back to the location, and I realize after I leave that I need to bring the boys. So Gavin and Aiden come with me, and the 2 of us are going through this entire install. And they're there with me because I can't get it done without them. There's just that much work. So we Red Bull it up, and we get candy, and we sugar ourselves up, and we stay there till 1:30 in the morning. And then by then, they are wasted. They are totally cashed. So I bring them back home to go to bed. They conk out in the car. I go back home. I pick up another $2,000 worth of signs. Problem is that we've used all the stakes. So I have all my broken H stakes back at the house. So I put them all in my truck. And when I get back to ATD, I'm installing the new signs, but I have my bolt cutter and I'm cutting signs, our H stakes, making stakes to put them in the ground. And this is when we said we're gonna implement a change order. But we didn't know if they were gonna pay for it because we didn't talk about it. And so I'm making stakes and I'm installing this stuff in the ground. And I'm there until 5:30 in the morning when I finally finish with the signs. Now, last but not least, I have to install a 5x7 banner that has the senior leadership team's signature on it and a thank you sign for them coming. And where we were going to install that was a huge tree. So I couldn't put it in the ground. So I had to go Home Depot at 7 o'clock and pick up 6-foot metal fence stakes and smash this thing in the ground to make it work because we had to be done by 8. At 7:45, we finally get done. And the people, Elise, Potter, and Jessica, I don't know Jessica's last name, do a final walkthrough, and they're happy, right? At the end of the day, they're happy. And then I go to the parking lot and I fall asleep in my truck. And the event starts at 10 o'clock. And so I stay till 10 o'clock, and then it's very windy out. So I have to fix all the inflatables because they're falling down. But throughout the time of the start of the event, I'm getting the impression that people are happy. And that's good. Now, Jennifer and I got into an argument about whether or not we should do this. Because it's Friday and we're busting our ass and we still haven't gotten paid. So we had to make a decision on whether or not we were gonna do this. Jennifer, no fault of her own, didn't want to because it was too hard. And we didn't know if we were gonna get paid, and I understand that. I mean, we could have just not done it for quote unquote business reasons. If you don't get paid, you don't get any service. And I would adamantly disagree. I knew enough to know that we had to do this in order to get our first invoice paid. And that if this event was successful, it would do a lot of things for a lot of the people that weren't involved. So for Elise and Jessica, if this turned out to be a success, they were gonna get recognized and probably get some praise, which is a good thing, right? I want them to have that. And we did it. So I sent them our second invoice on Sunday night, and they call me on Monday and they say, we got your second invoice. We didn't know that that was coming. It was our impression that you were gonna make this work. So we said to them, we said, hey, listen, when we got done with what you purchased, we didn't have enough signs left over to make it as full as I know that you wanted it. So we went back home after we had connected and got more stuff and installed more stuff. So the invoice, the second invoice, is for additional signs that we didn't include. And they disagreed. And they said that they weren't gonna pay the invoice. So what I know is that I should ask for the money. But I know enough to know not to demand it, because that's not going to do anybody any good. Why? Because they're in control. They're a $5 billion company, and if they wanted to, they could have made my life miserable, and I could have been really stuck. So we get on the phone with Jessica and Elise, and I tell them out of the gate that the event was a success. And they couldn't argue with that. They agreed. And then we started talking about some of the creative differences that we had and why we had to do things one way, and why we had to do things another way. And being in the corporate world long enough, it's not often that you see people take ownership for mistakes. And this was no different. Elise and Jessica were adamant about not paying the invoice. We understood why. And instead of arguing and debating why we were right and why they should pay us, we agreed humbly with all of the reasons why they shouldn't. And we didn't argue it at all. We said we understand. We said that we're not in a position of, we have no leverage here. And we want to have a long-lasting business relationship with ATD, and we did what we needed to do in order to make this work. I pointed out to them that despite being paid, despite not being paid, we followed through on what we said that we were going to do, and that we did it. And we know that they know that we did it because they're getting praise. And still, there was no budget. So they said that they weren't going to pay for it, and we had to accept that. But we did tell them that we have a private Facebook group, and we do have a YouTube following, and that we are going to make a video about our experience. And we did have that leverage, but it didn't matter, right? They basically said, don't use our corporate logo or any likeness of our corporate logo, or we'll send you a cease and desist order. So, and they can do that. So Jennifer was furious. And I had set the expectation that we weren't going to get paid our second invoice. I just want to get paid our first invoice. So meanwhile, last week, we still haven't been paid. There's been an issue with their new software, and to no one's fault, it's taken longer to get paid because of a software integration. And we all know how that works. So I was connecting with Tiffany. Now, Tiffany is the sole person in accounts payable that I am connecting with. And her manager is out. And not only is she getting emails and phone conversations with me, there's about 40, maybe even 50 other suppliers that haven't been paid either. So her manager is out of the office, And Tiffany is getting hammered with, I'm sure, phone calls from internal people and suppliers who are not being polite. And I knew enough to know that. And I didn't push the issue. I had every reason to be rude and a jerk, and I just didn't think that was the right way to do it. So on Thursday, when I connected with Tiffany, she told me that there was still no answer. And I told her that I was going to be patient. And we ended up having a really long conversation. But at the end of the conversation, she said to me, I want you to know I heard back from Jessica and I heard back from Elise, and they have agreed to pay the second invoice. And I was stunned, absolutely stunned, and just grateful. And I think the reason why they decided to pay it was, I think, after connecting with their senior leadership team, or at least Jessica's boss, I think they had a polite conversation like, hey, these people are who they say that they are. They followed through on what they said that they were going to do. Listen, they spend $1,000 on shrimp for a trade show dinner, like a drop of a hat. Not that that's an excuse, but they're a $5 billion company. And $1,000 to them is a rounding error. And for us, it's the difference between eating tuna fish and filet mignon, right? So for us, it was a big deal. And to their credit, they came through. Now, whether Jessica and Elise figured that out on their own, or whether or not they had a conversation that somebody else explained to them kind of what transpired, the point is, it doesn't matter. The point is that they made the phone call and they heard us, and it just took a little bit more time than we hoped, a couple days. So my experience with ATD was epic. And what I would say to you is I would love an opportunity to work with them again, because they have given me an opportunity that I didn't have before. And this is about building relationships, and this is about collaborating, and this is about taking risks, and this is about following through on what you say that you're going to do. This is about showing my kids about perseverance and integrity and doing what you say, because they grind it out with me late at night, and I want them to learn those lessons. So we learned a truckload. And I would invite all of you who are yard card professionals today to consider looking at this. You can look at Good Shuffle Pro, which, by the way, I still need to upload. But at the end of the day, guys, would I trade this experience in? Never. Absolutely never. I can tell you that I'm a better man and a better businessman because of this experience, despite spending the night, spending up 24 hours getting it all done. And it's good. It's good, man. I'm not upset. And you shouldn't be either. So the fact of the matter is that we still haven't been paid, but I believe that we will. So I'm going to put out this video as if they will, and I have no reason not to believe that they will. But I'll update you regardless. So that's it. That's all I got. I know I went on a long tangent, but I think it was important for this video. And in the meantime, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. Please comment. If you are looking to purchase any items talked about in the video, you can click in the description and click on any of the links to the items that we're offering. And then you can go to signfairies.net. And if you're looking to purchase yard letters or yard signs or anything custom, you can do it there. Please check out our sponsors for this video. I want you to know everything that I purchased for this event came from the 3 following vendors. Yard Card Supply. Big thank you to Miss Ginger for giving us a 10% discount on the Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa signs. I'd like to thank David from Lawn Candy Supply. He provided the banners. We paid a discounted rate for the banners. So we're grateful for you, David, for letting us have that discount. And the signs that we got, the decorative signs, came from Elazar over at Signway. and we paid a discounted rate for all those signs as well. So we didn't get anything for free, and we didn't expect that. We were all small businesses, we're all trying to make a living, and we're all trying to help each other out. And there's good things coming. So stay tuned, hang out, and smash the day. Have a great day, everybody.